is what flows in his fam's DNA. Dope is what flows in his fam's DNA.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to Dope Interviews, brought to you by the mighty 19 Media Group. I'm your host, Warren Shaw. And in the virtual building, it's chunky today. We got a full squad rocking out with the amazing crew, cast, everyone to put together the amazing film, The Tropic Sun in His Eyes, that debuted at Tribeca just a couple days ago. By the time this comes out, probably about a week or so ago, we have the amazing film director, Elisée Junior St, Preux, producers, Tu Lewis and Naturi Naughton, and the lead actor, Stevenson Jean. Ladies, gentlemen, what's good? Congratulations on an amazing film.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with Elisée, as kind of like the brain trust, so to speak. And I'm going to kind of just jump right into this joint. So this, to me, comes across as almost like a love letter to Haiti in a lot of different ways. For me personally, I'm of Jamaican descent. And so very tied to the Caribbean culture and diaspora, so to speak. But was that maybe part of the intent in showcasing the beautiful island country of Haiti in the way that you did?
Yeah. Number one, shout out to a fellow Al, SKU. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that this film came across as a lived-in portrait of Haiti. That's like, something I keep saying because shooting in Haiti was like non-negotiable. It took different avenues to, kind of let's shoot it maybe in Low Haiti in Miami, let's shoot it in, maybe a different country that may emulate Haiti. But the truth of the matter is nothing looks like Haiti. There is a very specific spiritual aura that I think comes across the screen in this film from the country. The way it looks and the way the people look and move, it's very, very, very specific to our culture, and I think the only way we're going to get that across is by shooting on land in Haiti. So yes, I made it intentional to shoot this movie not just on land, but in Cap-Haïtien, in the north of Haiti, where my family is from. Like I wanted it to be up there. That's also a specific part of Haiti. It has its own history. It has its own kind of mood. I would say, the people there are a little more chill and kind of a little bougie. I like to say, look, Stevenson's from the same place, so there goes that. But just the vibrancy of Haiti that it has, I just had a feeling it was going to come across screen that lets people kind of take a trip to this country, even if they are here in the U.S.
Yeah, I love that because within these islands specifically, there is that kind of like almost like diversion, if you will, and kind of like almost not segregation, but it's like that segmentation, if you will. Like in Jamaica, it's like town and country people, right? And so it's like it's really interesting, and I love the fact that that was a creative choice, with that. Naturi and Chi, I want to kind of kick it to you. Your involvement in this, what made you say, hey, let's come across Elisée, this great budding producer, director, etc. Like, why did you want to get involved with this film?
Really, for me, when I met Elisée, it was the purity in his heart. When he told me about the project, I mean, he explained it, that he was so passionate about it and why this is important to the world. And as a Black man in America, when you see somebody who's that impassioned about something, but not only that impassioned, but somebody that executes, because he's an executor. He goes out and he gets the job done. And when I saw that, I was like, man, he got something and he's next. So we got to make sure we support this young brother and bring it to the light. And I brought it to Naturi, and Naturi was like,
Yeah, I think I immediately, Tu and I are really starting our production company, Take Two Entertainment. And I honestly, I'm a big like champion for stories of, Caribbean people, Black people, underrepresented voices. And that's kind of what we want our track record to continue to be. But I think when I saw like the first couple of, I think clips, it wasn't even a full film at that time. It was like BTS and clips. And I just loved how raw the movie looked, how authentic Elise's voice was. I thought the acting, particularly, Stevenson and the young boy played by Blanc, I was just blown away at how, like, organic their chemistry felt. I think that films like this deserve to be on a, a major platform. So I think as a producer and also as an actress, who knows how important it is to use your platform to champion these kind of things, it just felt organic, it felt right, and I'm really excited for the world to see the Tropic Sun in his eyes.
Yeah, it rocks out. It does. It does its damn
Thank you.
thing. And Stevenson, gonna kick to you as Naturi just kind of mentioned you there as well. So I'm watching.
You see how I just alley-ooped it over to
Yeah, I see that. I
Stevenson?
see that. You know what I mean? Love it.
Look,
Love it.
I try to
the
luck
alley-oop.
out. No, yeah, go ahead.
Stevenson, there's parts of the film where, to me at least, especially in the beginning, like it's pretty silent. Like, so you're basically acting without talking. Like there's not a lot of words, I think, by your character. So talk to me a little bit about that, you know what I mean? And just really being able to display the emotion of the film without necessarily having to use words, and especially in the beginning portions of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think personally, I think sometimes silence speak louder than words. Um, and to do that in the film, I think it was necessary because a lot of times, we choose to speak, but certain times, it's was just looks. We can convey a message. We don't need words all the time, and I think, yeah, and once that's understood, you know, like you do realize that there are different ways to communicate, and for me, playing Ruben, um, I think Ruben has such a baggage, like it's with his traumas and what he's trying to do, and which is reconnect back with his father as well, reconnect back to himself in a way, and him meeting the young boy that's helping him do that. Yeah, that's the best way that I looked at it. Just we don't really need words all the time. Sometimes just taking in the country, just looking at the mountains, just just being in the ocean, just feeling the emotions that I'm feeling right now. Trying to reconnect back with my father, and then yeah, pretty much.
I do love that answer. And before we kick the break, I want to kind of kick it back to you, Elise, really quickly. The aspect of what Stevenson had just said, because there were some really creative choices that I thought was done within the film. When I watch anything that has to do with the islands, like I'm used to hearing, Caribbean music, so to speak. And there was that, right? There was that, but there was also, I want to say almost like classical or classical jazz kind of choices in some of the montages that went through. So just talking a little bit about that choice specifically, because I think it added an era of beauty to Haiti that sometimes I guess is underappreciated by the people who are not as initiated.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like Haiti has this classical feel to it. When I first got on the land, it just felt classical to me. There's a very vintage classical style that the country has in its architecture, but also in just the movement of everyone. Like it's as fast paced as it is. For some reason, I see it in a very slow motion sometimes. When things tend to move very fast, you know how you could start to see it in slow motion. That's like the way I see the land move, in my opinion. And my filmmaking style is very classical as well. Like there's always a very classical feel to it. And when I mean by classical, I mean by this equestrian, slow moving, um, melancholy feel. Because the thing about this film particularly is, yeah, we're dealing with the mental health somberness of this character. But at the same time, there's this sound of that everything's going to be okay. And that's the kind of conversations I had with the composer Elijah Fox, which who went to Oberlin, conservatory, mentored by Miles Davis descendants, and John Coltrane. It's like really insane. And for me as a filmmaker, before I was a filmmaker and before I was an actor and before I went to IT, at FAU, I was a musician, and played in the symphonic concert, jazz, and orchestra band for years, and we played in college at FAU. And so my conversation with composers are very more technical than they are on the surface. They're also emotional, but for Elijah, it was like he's going to just watch the movie and play the piano as it goes along. There were time codes involved, and of course we tightened it and structured it, but he actually just went with the feeling that he was having, and then we tightened it from there. So technically half of it is improv. There's templates involved, of course, but it is an improvisational score, which makes it more impressionistic. Yeah, but I wanted a softness to the film, um, mixed with drums, which was done by Jeff Pierre. He lives in LA and he has many drum albums. He's incredible. You should follow him on social media, Jeff Pierre Music. And he played those drums, which he also does as improv. Like these are not like written pieces. These are very self-taught. Well, Elijah's not self-taught, but very impressionistic, pieces of music and composition.
We're chatting again with the amazing cast from Tropic Sun and His Eyes. Let's take a quick break here into interviews, and we have a new guest joining us here. He jumped in kind of on the Brady Bunch panel here. We'll make sure we get him some questions here on the other side of this break.
You've earned this. Now it's time to embark on your own personal adventure. Book your vacation with exquisite travel and tours today. Explore the world and discover yourself.
And we're back here in Dope Interviews. So I wanted to bring in Calixto. Thank you so much for joining us, my brother. And we didn't get a chance to ask you in the beginning part of this, but when you saw this film, what made you want to jump in and be a part of it and help promote it for the great film that it is?
I actually came in, I think when he finished shooting, right? I think Elisée and I met, for context, like a year, maybe 2 years ago at the American Black Film Festival.
2022.
Yeah, it was a while ago. And he had a short film that was there, and it was a part of the HBO short filmmaker competition. And so Warner Brothers 150 were part of that because that's where the parent company for HBO. So I had seen the short, and then I think when he finished shooting, you were looking for another round of money, like completion funds, and we started having conversation. And believe it or not, the first conversation we had wasn't even transactional. It was really about relationships we had with our parents and what was that about, right? And then we just started talking a lot before we even got to the movie. And then when we got to the film, then it was just seeing his rough cuts. So I saw it at a really early stage, I think. And then that's when I wanted to come in. I think at that point I was like, okay, this makes sense, because you really want to know who you're getting in bed with, for lack of a better word, but like you want to know who you're getting involved with. And I think once you do that, and that takes time, what I mean? You want to build that relationship, because we're going to go through it, right? But, from edit to, to this moment here. And you want to make sure that, you guys are on the same wavelength, and running at a similar frequency to make this happen, right? And so for me, that's how I, assess whether I want to get involved with, with a project or not. And so with Elisée, it was like really just seamless. I mean, he was really receptive to edits and cuts and just whatever. He really was collaborative and involving me and like, what do you think of this? And what do you think of that? And it's a completely different film than when we first saw it, obviously. So to see it evolve, it's just amazing. And when you talk about the score, the score was we didn't really have a score when we first started this thing, but he was really clear. Everything that he envisioned is what we see on the screen. That's the thing, is that he has been clear from the jump how he wanted the color to, the look, how he wanted people to feel, transitions, all of that. And so this is really truly a manifestation of what he's been thinking about the whole time. So to see it come out the way it is, is beautiful.
Yeah, no, I would 1,000% agree. So congratulations, I think, for recognizing that. And you touched on something that I want to bring us to next, right? Like you said, you met and you started talking about your family. So I want to kind of kick it to Stevenson and Naturi as well, too, where there is an aspect of family in this that's not even within Stevenson's main character, Ruben, right? I think, with the young boy who's walking with him, it seems like that young man is looking for family as well. And they become quick family kind of throughout, that long walk, if you will. So Stevenson, why don't we start with you, your thought process on, the connection of family, with the young man, while your character was also seeking to kind of go back to his own personal family, his real family, so to speak.
And so with Ruben and the young boy, as as they were walking for Ruben to find his family, I think Ruben served as the home for the young boy because he's homeless, and the young boy served as freedom and as a younger brother as well for Ruben. So once I kind of made that connection, like from the minute that I read the script, I realized the how similar they are. But not only you could see that they need each other, you know. Ruben need the young boy need Ruben as well, you know. And it's crazy how like sometimes in life, you know, like strangers feel more like family than our own family members, you know. And I think this is this is the same way that I think Ruben saw the young boy, you know. So yeah, so along the way, I think as Ruben, you know, he's depressed, he's dealing with all his traumas, but at the same time, you know, for example, the scene where when he told the young boy that he's going to see his father because he's dying, and the young boy hugs him, you know, you can tell that the way that Ruben reacted, he hasn't had a hug for a long time, you know. And I think this is what made him say, okay, maybe he's not as annoying. Maybe I should take you along the way, you know, to show me the way, you know. So and realize that yeah, this is more of a younger brother relationship. That yeah, he is annoying, but he can show me the way, and like I don't have to do this alone. Yeah, we don't have to do this like certain routes that we take in life. We don't have to do it alone. You know, we can have someone. We can allow someone to come in, even though it's tough. You know, like based on what we're dealing with. But I think this is that's the approach that I took when you know, just playing Ruben. Yeah, to really portray him the right way.
Yeah, I'd agree. Naturian too. Any thoughts, you know, regarding, you know, that relationship, that kinship, finding family along the walk, so to speak?
Yeah, I could definitely say it's almost like building this film with Elisée, right? Like we take this walk, you pick up people as you go, like the young boy with Stevenson while they was walking, because along the way you start seeing like the ebbs and flows of life. And I think with Stevenson's character coming back home, it wasn't even just the young boy who was family. I think he started feeling the vibrations and energy from the island and everything he was going through that walk through Haiti, and seeing like the people who knew his father, and everybody saw his father in him, and looking at the ring moment, and just so many things that reminded him of home, and he hasn't been there. And it's a heartfelt thing, because you know, a lot of times as black men or black people, we go off to school for 4 years, or we go off to these places, to the army or whatever we do, and we may not come home for 4, 8, 10 years. And when you get those moments, you're coming back home and you don't know what to expect. So I think with him finding that, like, kind of that kinship and that love with the young boy, it actually opened him up to get to his family. He was more open and receiving when he got to his family, because he was already kind of open, had an open heart from sharing that with Blanc during that whole walk. So I mean, it's just such a beautiful thing that we all go through sometimes in our different ways.
You know, for Naturi, before you jump in, I was just gonna say, like, the movie reminded me in the best way possible. Do not take this the wrong way. Well, like a video game, and then there was these side quests, and then these side quests end up really becoming such a big part of how the story ultimately needed to be told. I think for Ruben specifically, right? So that aspect for you, Naturi, like, kind of, did you pick up on that as well too when you're watching it, or some of the other thoughts on the familial aspects?
I think family, one thing that I thought Elise said at our premiere that was really awesome is the movie is simply about connection, right? Connection to oneself, connection to family or to others. And it was a third one, connection to your history or your home, I think to your land maybe. But I just thought that family is such a central part of the film, because even amongst our family members, we are struggling to feel connection at times. And I think, you know, father son stories like the Tropic Sun in His Eyes are so necessary to expose that need for connection, not just financial stability from your father, not just, you know, leadership qualities. You still need to feel loved, to feel connected, to feel, you know, like supported. And I think, I don't know, there's such an intimacy between, especially in the final scene of the final scene of the film, it's so simple. And like you said earlier, Warren, there's not a lot of words, but the few words that are spoken, even forgiveness in itself, forgiveness to me is such a central theme, particularly in Black families where we struggle, or Black fathers and their sons, or even mothers and daughters can connect to this film because we all can relate to the theme of what that feeling of disconnection is like. But when there is connection, it feels like healing. And I think that the reason why, the film is so special and so universal is because we all need connection, we all need family, and we all need healing. And however you can get to that place, if it means going back home and traveling a long road up into the mountains with an annoying kid, go for it. But in the midst of that, there's connection. And I thought that was such a key point that it really stuck with me. Yeah.
I think great points. And so as we are closing out here, I want to just round robin style. It's a two-part question, but one word. Calixto, I'm going to start with you. The one word you want people to take away from this movie, and one word to describe Haiti.
One word to describe this movie. Oh my gosh, there's a bunch of words. Just beautiful, and I think that's the same for Haiti. I mean, I think I would say emotional on the film and meditative. There's a bunch of words. Um, and then Haiti, I think for this, you see its beauty, man. I don't think you've really seen a film like this that really captures the beauty of this film, the beauty of the country, like this film does. And I think everyone, that's the biggest feedback that we've been hearing is that you're seeing the culture in this panoramic view the way it is, like you've never really seen it quite like this. And so you realize that that's what's missing, right? And so I think it's that the beauty of the island, um, and the music and just the people. Like it's like, yeah, it's all of that. There's a lot of
All good.
words.
It's all good. Two, one word, movie and Haiti.
For both or one word for each?
One word for each. You got so 2 words total.
I would say humanity. Really, like humanity. Like it's just probably my favorite word. It probably shifts because the conversation always leads from the headlines and the stereotypes and everything you hear about Haiti, and then seeing this and seeing the humanistic development of Haiti while you're walking through it, the whole Haitian culture and the music and the sounds and the colors, everything just plays a character. So I think it's humanity that covers hope and legacy and everything. That would be my word.
Okay. Let's kick it to you, Stevenson.
For me, one word to describe the film and Haiti as well. I'll choose the same word. To me, it's freedom. Haiti, Haiti is the first Black republic to gain its independence from France, and we defeated France. We defeated, all the colonizers at the time, and yeah. So freedom, even though we still have to pay for our freedom. Unfortunately, it was not right in their eyes at the time. But yeah, it's freedom. And for the film as well, freedom, because Ruben, I think young boy allowed Ruben to be free in so many different ways. By the young boy inviting Ruben into the ocean, into the river. Him feeling freedom at the time. You can tell that his energy shifted after being in the river. Yeah, him dancing during the on the beach. That's freedom. Feeling reconnecting back with his inner child. Feeling free when he sees his family again, when he sees his father again, and then being in Haiti as well. So freedom.
I love it. I love it. Tori.
One word.
Yeah.
Okay. One word to describe the film. I guess the word that keeps coming to my spirit is just healing. The film could heal. It has the capacity to heal. It is healing. When you watch it, it's just one of those things. And then one word to describe Haiti. Um, I don't know. I was thinking of different things. Like obviously the film is beautiful and all these things, but when I watch it, I've never been to Haiti. I can't wait to go. Hopefully we can screen the film there. That is the hope and the dream. But it feels like the one word is ancestral. I feel like Haiti and what I'm learning through Elisée and Stevenson and people who actually, the whole crew and those who actually are from there. Even my hairstylist is Haitian. My trainer is Haitian. I have so many people in my life. And I feel like there's such a connection to ancestry as Black people, as, African people. And I think as a Caribbean woman, even where my father was born in the Caribbean, like literally he looks like straight from like either, West Africa. So I think there's something ancestral about the way the trees move and the ancestors. It just feels like there's a connection there. So yeah,
Ooh, you can tell you do this, no doubt. So let's kick it to
I'm deep.
Elisée.
I go deep. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Close us out, Elisée.
To describe the movie, reflection. That would be my word, because I think there's a reflective spirit and themes, of the times we are going through right now. Also the human experience and human nature, how we look at each other, how we connect to each other, how we move past each other, how we forgive each other. I think it is a reflection on us, how we could be better people in this world, but also a reflection of people born in Haiti who may have migrated from Haiti to now look back at this, and watch this film and now say, I want to go back to my country, or I want to do more for my country, or wow, I'm literally reminiscing right now while I'm watching this film. There's a huge reflection going around. I watched it in between my mom and dad, my mom on my left, my dad on my right. And I kid you not, they are pointing out like every place that we shot. They know the name of, like this. My dad hasn't been back since the 80s, and he still knows exactly what it is just by looking at it, which means that a lot of things have not changed. It's still as beautiful as they think it is. A word I would use for Haiti, to describe Haiti, tenacity. I just
Say it
think
again.
tenacity.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I just think our people just can't be messed with. I mean, I just truly think so. I just think there is no pushing us down. Like, we're gonna do everything we can and everything we have in our wheelhouse to continue to be the richest and most powerful, country ever. I mean, the things that the people on land were doing while we were shooting to assist us. Stevenson spoke about one time in a Q&A recently on our last screening about the fire scene, of how we got that together, of how the people literally saw us trying to make a fire. They probably couldn't really see the cameras because it was pitch black. They don't even know what was going on, but they were just throwing wood at us, putting it in this fire to keep the fire burning. And that's so symbolic, because that was the day before our like half day of shooting, which is like the day and a half before we left the country. I mean, we were pretty much done at that end, and I was completely burnt out on my end. And that fire was like really hard. I think I said out loud in that scene, like, just forget about it, truthfully. But they kept throwing the wood in, and the fire just continuously kept to burn, and it kept to get bigger and bigger and bigger, so we could continue shooting that scene, which is so integral in the film, which we have the scene in there. So I think there's a tenacity of to never give up, no matter what your condition is, no matter what, your circumstances are, just to like never give up.
Yeah. That has to be very rewarding for you as a filmmaker to go there and then to be able to have the country kind of give back in the way that it did and support it, in that way. I think for you and Stevenson, I mean, that has to be an amazing moment. Well, we've taken up so much of your time. You guys are all super, super amazing human beings. I want to thank you for rocking out with me here on Dope Interviews. Continued success, with this film, and its continued growth and exposure to everybody there. This is the amazing cast and crew, producers, everyone behind the Tropics Under His Eyes. I'm Warren Shaw. Catch me next time here on Dope Interviews, y'all, and we're out.
Thank you, Warren.
Thank you so much.
Together we stand, divided we never. The vision is one, striving for the better. Working as a team, working toward a dream. It's not even work when the team is the dream. On a united front, we got our own back. A band of brothers to counteract any attack. One heart, in fact. Forget what the blood say. Dope is what flows in his fam's DNA. So let's do it for the love, give to the max. Listen to opinion, but react to facts. And remember that together with a shh, but separate, just pieces of it. Dope is what flows in his fam's DNA. Dope is what flows in his fam's DNA.
Family represent like a tree with names on it. We're free, no chains on it. Relieved, the pain's gone, I can see. We come together like questions on the quiz. Mojo Flow and Viz, man, you know what it is. And if ignorance is bliss, you're gonna hate this lesson. Organized intellect like a tropical depression. My symbol is the cross, a mic and ghost peppers. Cause I'm just a black sheep, growing up to be a shepherd. Moonlighting as a weapon to protect the children. Every brother is a father, dynasties we're building. Max, J and K, Bay, and Isaiah, next level of the family foundation. Understand me?